line, the last line on Lamed Chesem and Aleph. Rabbi Lozer, Reb Shimon Omer. Kol mitzvos, kol mitzvah shenitztavu yisrael kodem knisos l'oretz. Any mitzvah that we were commanded before we entered the land, no heges bein boretz bein b'chutz l'oretz. Why? Right? A mitzvah that was upon us, incumbent upon us before we entered the land, it's in effect whether you live in Eretz Yisrael or you live outside of Eretz Yisrael. Why is that? Because it's obvious, it's unrelated to the land. If we were already obligated prior to entering into Eretz Yisrael, so it's clear, it's chovas guf. It's related to the person, it's unrelated to the land. Because it was related to the land, how were we obligated to keep it in the midbar, in the desert? La'acha knisos l'oretz, or have mitzvahs which first came upon us as an obligation after we entered into the land. Ein no heges ela boretz. They're only in effect when we entered into Eretz Yisrael. They're only, because it only came into effect after we entered Eretz Yisrael, so evidently you see it's contingent on the land. Therefore, outside of Eretz Yisrael, one has no obligation. Chutz min hashmotes ksofim v'shluch avodim. Except for a loan to be canceled, which means if one doesn't pay a loan by the end of the 7th year, the Torah says the loan is canceled. The lender is not permitted to collect the debt. Okay? That is even effect even in Chutz La'aretz. That's not limited to Eretz Yisrael. Even though, so that the Gemara is going to ask that question. That's the Gemara's question. I mean, what's even the consideration to say differently? Right? Seemingly, Hashmotis, that the law of Shemitah, Shmitas Ksofim, that you're not permitted to collect the debt once the 7th year passes. The reason is because it's unrelated to the land. So evidently that mitzvah must have been in effect even in Eretz Yisrael. But we'll see the Gemara says, because there's a consideration say maybe differently. Because the Torah links Shmitas Ksofim to Shmitas Karka. We didn't get there yet. Okay? Chutz min hashmatus Ksofim shluch avodim. Moshe V'Sechem. 1 second. She'afal pisha nitztavu aleim la'acha knisos l'oretz. Although they only were commanded after they entered into the land. No heges bein boretz bein b'chutz l'oretz. Nevertheless, it's an effect whether you live in Eretz Yisrael or you live out of Eretz Yisrael. Hashmatus ksofim, that the loan is canceled. You have no right to collect the debt, and that the slaves, when the Jubilee comes, they're freed. You must release the slave to go back to his original owner. What, to be freed? Every. So more asks a question. Hashmotus ksofu chobes agufi. So more says, asks seemingly Hashmotus ksofim. It's incumbent upon the person. So if it's incumbent upon the person, that mitzvah should have been in effect before we entered into the land, correct? So if that's the case, what does he have to tell me that that there would be consideration that Hashmatus Ksofim would be limited to Eretz Yisrael, not to Chutz La'aretz? Chovas Agufi, Lo Nitzchel L'Cheretanya. The reason why we're singling this out, why I would consider this differently than others, because it's something which we had learned in the Brisa, the Tanya Rebbe Omer. Zed Dvar HaShmita, Shmot. There's nothing superfluous in Torah. So Torah says, this is the law of the Shemitah. So if it's Shemitah, what is Shemitah? Shemitah means refraining. You must leave it. You must leave it. So it says Zedvar Shemitah, and then it should tell me what Shemitah is. What is Shmot? What's this reiteration? Shemitah Shmot. The word Shmot is what? Is superfluous. So evidently the Torah is addressing more than just leaving the land fallow. It's leaving something else also. That although you have a claim, which is a monetary claim due to a debt, the lender must leave it. He's not permitted to collect the debt, although the debt was in effect before the 7th year expired. We're speaking about refraining from the land, leaving the land fallow, and leaving the debt be, and not to collect the debt. Shmitas ksofim. So what is the Torah telling me? The way I would have understood the pasuk, Bizman she'atom mishamit karka, atom mishamit ksofim. When you must leave the land fallow, that's when you must leave the debt be. Meaning the lender is not permitted to pursue the borrower to collect the debt. Bizman she'atom mishamit karka. But when you don't leave the land fallow, which was before we went into Eretz Yisrael, you were permitted. I mean, the whole thing had no relevance. Agricultural involvement in the desert. Yatom mishamik sofim. So therefore, when did the obligation come about? It's chovas aguf. Sofim. Yeah. Right. No. It says lo yigos. There's a negative commandment. It says over there when you lend money, and the Shemitah is coming, it says you have no right to collect the debt. That's a lav. It's a lo saseh. But here will the linkage in terms of when the obligation come about. Did the obligation precede the entry into the land or not? So Gemara says all other mitzvahs which seem to be unrelated to the land were given before we entered into the land. So if that's the case, why is Shemitah different? So on that it says no, because here the Torah is alluding to this halacha only in conjunction with Shemitah's karka. So Mar asks, one second, why am I interpreting as a saying only when the obligation comes about? Maybe what the Torah is saying, that just as you must leave the land fallow is only relevant to Eretz Yisrael, the halacha of not collecting a debt is also the location is Eretz Yisrael. That's the Mar's question. Mar asks, the location where you must leave the land fallow, that's where you must leave the loan alone. Refrain from collecting loan. But in a location where there is no obligation to leave the land fallow, which is chutz loretz, there you're not obligated to refrain from collecting the debt. Maybe that's what the Torah is telling us. Even though it's chovas guf, but it's because it's linked. It's linked to what? To the agriculture. Because since it's initially mentioned in regard to that, maybe it's limited to the same. It has the same parameters. Talmud lomi ki Korach shmita laHashem mikol mokom. Hashem called shmita laHashem means it's applicable wherever it may be. When shmita is declared, it has relevance. So the land says explicitly, specifically, Eretz Yisrael. So therefore, this cannot include that. But the Shemitah's Ksofim, refraining from collecting a debt which is only alluded to, this pasuk comes to tell me this extends beyond Eretz Yisrael, even in Chutz La'aretz. That's the pasuk, Ki Korach Shmita LaHashem. Not the Lish, Ki Korach Shmita LaHashem. Seeing the pasuk, Ki Korach Shmita. The calling of Shemitah, L'Hashem is not the main point. The declaration of Shemitah L'Hashem, you must declare it. That, it seems to be superfluous, means regardless of where you are, you must declare Shemitah. What does Chutz La'aretz have relevance to Shemitah? The answer is this comes to include the debt. That if you have a debt, it also has Shemitah has relevance in what regard? That you're not permitted to collect the debt. It's all psukim. Everything psukim. So what we're saying now is, prior to Eretz Yisrael, Shemitah's Ksofim was not in effect, although it's chovas aguf, right? Although it's incumbent on the person, unrelated to the location, it was not prior to entering into the land, because the Torah only first mentions it linked to the land, right? But nevertheless, despite that, it's only later. When we entered into the land. Correct. Right, correct. I mean, Tosas cites Yerushalmi, let's say today, this coming year, Shemitah in Eretz Yisrael. Today, I mean, we rule halacha, the question, Shemitah today. Is it Doraisas Rabbanon, right? Or Shemitah's Ksofim. We're linking Shemitah's Ksov, most of Shemitah's Karka. The basis is we're equating B to A, and despite it's linked to the agriculture, it goes beyond Eretz Yisrael. It's even outside of Eretz Yisrael. From this posuk, Korach Shemitah L'Hashem. Shemitah, yeah. So we'll see, Tosas cites Yerushalmi, that it's linked to Yovel. That when was it a Doraisa? That's only when Yovel was in effect. When Yovel is not in effect, it's not a Doraisa. Shemitah. Even Shemitah, agriculturally speaking. So they're bound by the laws of Shemitah, it's only rabbinical. No, there is no Yovel. It's Drabanan. It's based, there's Tosas, a lengthy Tosas over here. It's based on, everything's based on Psukim. No. They don't get around it because of that. They don't get around it. We'll see Tosa a little bit in a minute. Let's see, go a little further, and we'll see Tosus. Shiluach Avodim, right? He said there are two exceptions. That the mitzvahs that we were commanded when we entered into the land, they're only limited to the land, except two exceptions: Shmitas Ksofim and Shiluach Avodim, freeing the slave. So the Gemara asks the same question: Shiluach Avodim, Chovas Agufi. This is why should this be contingent on the land? Correct? Right? You should declare freedom in the land. This is the declaration of Yovel. So it says, where do you declare freedom? Dror, Boretz, in the land. Boretz ein, b'chutz loretz lo. So even though the Yovel may come, the 50th year may come in Eretz Yisrael, but if you have, let's say a slave sold himself as an Eved Ivri for 6 years, and he's a Chutz Loretz, the master doesn't have to release the slave, right? Because the slave is released, a Jewish slave, either, if he sold himself till Yovel, he's released with Yovel, right? What about if he's in the midst of the 6 years, and Yovel comes, Yovel interrupts it, and he's freed. But all the laws go into effect. The returning of properties, right? The returning of properties. Person purchases a piece of property outside Eretz Yisrael. Yovel comes, you don't have to return it to the original owner. No, you don't. No, it's declared by the Bezdin Eretz Yisrael. The Sanhedrin does this. They declare the year as Yovel, the Jubilee year.
But the actual freeing of the slaves, the mechanics is...
No, that's a consequence. That's a consequence of the declaration. That's a consequence. So where do you declare this? It says Boretz. So I'd say maybe the result of that declaration is limited to Eretz Yisrael. No, so that's Gemara Rosh Hashanah, whatever. They declare it on Rosh Hashanah, but the actual, everything's in limbo until Yom Kippur, everything returns. So it seems to be Boretz saying, B'chutz loretz lo. Eretz Yisrael, that's where the declaration, there is the consequence of their declaration. Talmud Loma Yovel Hi Mikol Mokum. Yovel Hi is superfluous to tell me, regardless of where you are, you have the benefits, you're affected by the law, by the declaration of the Yovel. So now we have Imkei Matom Lo Beboretz. So what is if Yovel is effective wherever you may be, so why cross and draw Boretz? The drawer, the freedom, everything is released, is universally effective. So what's Boretz? When you declare, when you have Yovel in Eretz Yisrael, that's when it's effective. The effect is a Chutz Loretz. Ein Drob Nogi Boretz. But if there is no Yovel in Eretz Yisrael, Ein Nogi Boretz, Chutz Loretz. Right? It's all continue. Whenever you declare Yovel, so it's universally effective. But there are times that you're not going to declare Yovel. So if that's the case, so if you're a slave, you worked the full 6 years. The 7th year, you're freed. But your freed is unrelated to Yovel. It's not Yovel related. No, you didn't declare it. You didn't declare it. No, what it's telling me, the times that you do declare it, the times that you don't declare it. Maybe you always declare it, right? Let's see Tosis over here a little bit. But it's not coming to tell me that's not coming. That's not the emphasis. The emphasis is that there is a time, even though it's Eretz, there's no Yovel. That's the main point. It's not to tell me, of course, if there's no Yovel, there's no Yovel in the Chutz La'aretz. That's understood. But you think maybe you have to declare it, like the Shemitah. Regardless, there's always Yovel. It says no. The times that there's not a Yovel, there's no Yovel. No. No. Eved Ivri. Eved Ivri is all over. You could have correct. A Jew sells himself into slavery. He works for 6 years. No. That's not Shemitah. Shemitah is agricultural based. He leaves after 6 years. He works 6 years. The 7th year he's freed. Shemitah is the 7th year. The land is fallow. Neither, correct. We're talking about the releasing of the slave. That he works 3 years. Now the Jubilee year comes. The Jubilee year cancels his servitude. He's freed at that moment. It has no relevance anymore. If there's no Yovel in Eretz Yisrael, wherever the person may be, there's no Yovel. Well, that's more. No. But that's one of the multiple consequences. No question. Right. Land. If it's land where it's the original portion which they had received when they divided land, that returns. There are other laws also. A person consecrate a piece of property. They're all different kind of laws. Right. One second. Let's see Tosis over here. It's the fourth line. You see, he quotes Rashi. Fourth line where the lines are wider in Tosis. Rashi Pirush Perka Sholeach. Gabi Hodom Rabbi B'Shvius B'Zman Azer Lo Mishamik D'Oraisa. Rabbi says in Gittin that Shemitah year in our times, in his time, it's rabbinical. It's not on a Torah level. Rebbe, and it's attributed to Rebbe. The Tanya, Rebbe Omer, Zed Dvar Shemitah Shmot, the Karken Nishmetes Micharisha Charisha Uzriyo, El Bezman Habayis. Yeah, when the Beis Hamikdash stood, then there was Shemitah's Karka. You're not permitted to plow. You're not permitted to plant the land. This is on the Torah level. Ma'ikro Gufei, Upirish Echot Shemitah's Karka, the Charisha Uzriyo, V'Echot Shemitah's Ksofim. Dashmotes Milver, Id Vidi Shvius, Shenash Yovel Noeg, Shemitah Namid Lo Hoyu Nogim. Kiddush Bushalmi. Meaning, if Shemitah's Karka is not in effect, then Shemitah's Ksofim is not in effect. Kiddush Bushalmi, Zedvar Shemitah Shmot. He's citing the Yushalmi. It's based, Rebbe is mentioned in Yushalmi. B'shtei Shemitahs Chosam Dabra, Ach Shemitahs Yovel, Vacha Shemitahs Shvius. Yovel has the same halacha, right? We had Yovel. Yovel was the 50th year had the identical status as the 49th year. As the 49th year, you're not permitted. All agricultural activity wasn't permitted. The Yovel also was not permitted. You had additional laws, the returning of the slaves, of the properties, and so on and so forth. But that's b'shtei Shemitahs Chosam Dabra, Shemitahs Yovel, Ach Shemitahs Shvius. B'zman she Yovel Noeg, Shvius Noeg. Eina Yovel Noeg. Ubezman Azer, Ene Yovel Noeg, the Gabi Yovel Ksiv Bo'oretz L'chol Yoshveho. Right? It says Bo'oretz L'chol Yoshveho. So the Yushalmi says, B'zman Shkol Yoshveho Leo Yovel Noeg. When the majority of Jews were in Eretz Yisrael, that's when Yovel was in effect. Ubizman hazeh, ein yoshvei olel, ho v'yovel einu noeg. So if that's the case, this is Rebbe's position. So since the Jubilee year, Yovel is not in effect, Shvius nami einu noeges. So Shvius is also not in effect. We'll see in a moment.
According to this, there would be no Shemitah now either.
Midoraisa. You're right. The kosher, Rashi says, Rashi cited Rashi in Gittin. He says when Abai says Shvius b'zman hazeh lo right, lo mishamit. He says you have to refrain from what? From charish and zriya. That's what Rashi explained. From plowing and planting. Kosher mashpir shmitas karka hainu machrish zriya b'shvius. Vutzach lovi Rashi mihidrosha d'yushal midim ken hoyel Abai lovi oso kem sheikar misham mochiach t'shmita in hegus harei lo yadin klom ela mihut l'chim pirush Rabbeinu Tam hainu Yerushalmi do Rebbe nami omro hos b'shmitas karka kori yovel shechozeres lebalim b'yovel ma she'en kein b'shvius u'shmitas ksofim kori shvius she'na shmotes ksofim b'yovel Kiddushin b'sifrig. Let's say a person would lend money in the 50th year when there was Yovel. At the end of the 50th year, although Yovel had the same status as Shvius, as Shemitah, didn't cancel the loan, right? The loan had to be was only canceled at the end of the 7th year in the sabbatical cycle. But if you'd lend money, let's say at the beginning of the 50th year, and now the end of the 50th year comes, although the 50th year was identical to the 7th year, it doesn't cancel it. One more second. Parshas Rei, Zedvar Shemitah, Shemitah Shates Ksof V'lo Yovel. When it says Zedvar Shemitah, Shemitah cancels the Kesef, but not Yovel. Manche now Tomishamit Karka B'Yovel. At the time when the land doesn't return in Yovel, She Chozeres Lebalim, Atomishamit Ksofim. Right? When the land goes back, that's when the loan is canceled. Hainu Shvius, Sheksofim Nogim. Within the Mari B'Shmitas Charisha V'Karka. Uzriya. Shmitas Shvius Legamri Yalfina Lo Mishmitas Yovel. He's learning that when Shmitas Karka is referring to Yovel, when the land goes back. When the land goes back, that's when you have Shmitas Karka, you have the 7th year, the provision of planting and plowing, and the loan being canceled. Hodnoka Shmitas Ksofim, Shemnoka Karka Fisha. He wrote Zalaska Mashiach. Okay. But factually, according to Yerushalmi, today, Shemitah's Karka is rabbinical. And Shemitah's Ksofim is rabbinical. Of course, it's all linked to Yovel.
Yovel is 50 or 51.
50.
Year 50, so it's the year after Shemitah or the same year?
No, that's an argument. There's an argument.
Right?
That's an argument. No. The argument is day one, year 50.
Right.
Is year 51 and Yovel, or I start counting 51 as year one towards the new sabbatical cycle. That's a separate argument.
No, but it's going to...
We're not just, well, it affected ultimately the counting.
Which year Shemitah?
Right. Did we start a year earlier? Did we start a year later? That's a separate discussion. We'll see in a moment. We have other laws. I mean, let's say Orla. Orla, we said before, we're going to discuss in a moment. That's what we're going to discuss now. Is it a Doraisa or Drabonan? A Chutz Loretz. Reb Lozer, Reb Shimon. No, Reb Lozer, the son, he doesn't agree with his father necessarily. Reb Lozer says Chutz Loretz. Chodesh, that's the Mishnah. Okay, we didn't discuss our Uncle Kalayim yet. Wait, we're not finished with him yet. We're not finished. Okay.
When we Shmita now?
We don't, yeah.
Which
Look in the Rambam. When they stopped counting,
stop counting Yovel?
stop Yovel, so you counted, then there was year one.
So no matter which opinion.
Right. No, it would make a difference. When you did have Yovel, was Yovel, was Shemitah year 51? Or
cycle 50 years.
Right.
When they stopped, how did
They stopped after. It didn't restart. No, there was a hiatus when we went to Bavel.
Shemitah, we continued to keep it? How many are we gonna do?
When? Today?
Yes.
No, because after the Churban Abayis, we continue counting.
So we have a count, we know.
Right. You take a look at the Rambam. The Rambam speaks about it, and exactly what the calculation is.
Do we know when Yovel year would be?
There is no Yovel year. Until the base of Mikdash is rebuilt,
Now we don't have that.
we don't have. The 50th year has no relevance.
You just have to know when the last Yovel was.
Right.
Know when Shmita.
Okay. Let's see further. Tanan Hosam. HaChodosh Osam min HaTorah. Okay, this is the Mishnah. Reb Lozer, this is the Mishnah. If you remember, there was a question. Reb Lozer said, Af HaChodosh. Remember? Our Mishnah. So there was a question, is Reb Lozer L'Kula or L'Chumra? Does the Tana Kama, is he of the opinion that Chodesh is also in effect Nechutz Loretz? Right? And Reb Lozer says, even in regard to Chodesh, we're lenient, we're makel. Or Reb Lozer is of the opinion, Afa Chodesh L'Chumra, and the Tana Kama is L'Kula. Remember? That was the discussion. Right? The Mishnah says that all mitzvahs Hatlui Sporetz are relevant to the land, except for Orla and Chodesh and Kalayim. That's what the Mishnah says. Chutz min Orla Kalayim. Reb Lozer says Afa Chodesh. Even Chodesh. The Gemara conclusion was that Reb Lozer is L'Chumra. Right? And we rule like Reb Lozer.
So he's adding on to the Chodesh.
He's adding. Not only Orla Kalayim, even Chodesh. So over there, if you remember the Mefarshim, they were dealing with the issue. I mean, simply the Mishnah reads Reb Lozer's L'Chumra. So why does the Gemara even contemplate that Reb Lozer's L'Kula? That's the Mefarshim, right? They were showing them they were dealing with this. No. We brought a proof that he's L'Chumra. But what was even the consideration initially even to ask the question? If the Mishnah reads simply Afa Chodesh, the Tarakaba doesn't mention Chodesh. So why should I think Reb Lozer is not L'Chumra? Right? That was the question which we asked. So what the Rishonim explain, because this is a Mishnah, this is an anonymous Mishnah in Orla, and it says in Orla, HaChodesh Osam min HaTorah b'chol makom. So what does that mean? That's L'Chumra. And Reb Lozer is a minority opinion. The Tanna Kama is a majority opinion. Right? Whenever there's an anonymous opinion stated in the Mishnah, it's a majority opinion. And here I have a majority opinion in the Mishnah in Orla, which states that Chodesh is what is universal. Right? B'chol makom. So if that's the case, right away, maybe now we have to interpret the Mishnah differently. Although the Mishnah simply reads Reb Lozer's L'Chumra, maybe over here I should read Reb Lozer L'Kula. Right? He's lenient. Because if that's the case, we have two anonymous Mishnah opinions which don't agree with one another. The anonymous opinion now, Mishnah says, Orla and Kalayim, and not Chodesh. And who's the opinion of Chodesh? It's Reb Lozer. And here I have an anonymous Mishnah in Orla that says, HaChodesh Osam B'chol Makom is Osam B'chol Makom. That's the reason why the Gemara considers not reading the Mishnah as we normally would read the Mishnah, which would be L'Chumra. We said it's Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel, Tony Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel is the Tana Kama, that he learns Moshe V'Seichem. Yeah, but again, Rabbi Lozer, Rabbi Yehuda Nossi establishes the Mishnah anonymously.
Right.
So that means that's the majority opinion. And I have a Mishnah in Orla, which is also a majority opinion. No, Rabbi Lozer's not.
Just showed what? That he's considered the possibility of Chodesh and rejected it?
Again,
In other words,
let's say the Mishnah doesn't conclude. It says, HaKalayim, Orla v'Kalayim. And then I have the Mishnah in Orla. I have no contradiction. Right? It's clear. Why does our Mishnah mention Kalayim? Because it's explicit. Or a Chodesh that's explicit. Right? That's explicit in the Torah. that it applies even in Chutz La'aretz. But now that I have Rabbi Lozer that says Afa Chodesh, now I have to understand what Rabbi Yehuda Nossi is saying, because because I have this anonymous Mishnah here that says Chodesh is universal, and from our Mishnah the way it reads, it seems to be the Tanna Kama says no, it's limited to Eretz Yisrael. So how do I reconcile both? So I have to bend over backwards to say when he says Afa Chodesh, he's arguing with the Tanna Kama. Tanna Kama's opinion Chodesh is forbidden, just as Kilayim and Orla is forbidden in Chutz La'aretz. Afa Chodesh means we're lenient, not only in regard to the other things, but even Chodesh. Even Chodesh we're lenient. Right? That was a consideration in the Gemara, in terms of interpreting the Mishnah. So this is the Mishnah because of this Mishnah in Orla. Okay?
Why do we need to align the opinions of the Tanakh? Why is that the
Because why did Rabbi Yehuda Nossi establish Mishnah anonymously? Right? So the Gemara says, because the Gemara in Beis says, normally, whenever we say, we always follow a majority opinion whenever there's an argument. That's only if we can't resolve who is more right, which opinion is the more correct opinion. But there are times where a minority opinion can be more correct than the majority opinion. Who is able to make that evaluation? Rabbi Yehuda Nossi and his Bezdin, they evaluated all the opinions. So whenever he would see that a minority opinion was correct, if he would state it as a minority opinion, so we would apply our principle, Achrab Lahatos, and we would not rule like the minority opinion. So if that's the case, we'd be mistaken. So what does Rabbi Yehuda Nossi do to avoid this? He doesn't identify the minority opinion as a minority opinion. He states it as an anonymous opinion, that you should understand or believe that it's a majority opinion. So therefore, you should follow it. So usually, that's what we say, halakhic stam mishnah. We always rule like the anonymous opinion. So therefore, because he states it as if it would be a majority. So now we have so we have to reconcile it. Our Mishnah states Chodesh as a minority opinion. And here we have Chodesh stated as a majority opinion. So how do we reconcile? The answer is, maybe Rabbi Lozer says, Ava Chodesh, he doesn't mean L'chumra, he means L'kula. And if that's the way we're going to interpret it, then we have no contradiction. The Tanna comes of the opinion, not only Orla Kalayim, even Chodesh. And when Rabbi Lozer says, Ava Chodesh means L'kula. Just as you have mitzvah tluis b'oretz, only apply to Eretz Chutz La'aretz, Chodesh is no different. Chodesh, even though, according to your understanding, it seems to be universal, it's not universal. It's limited to Eretz Yisrael. You following? I know the conclusion, we proved it. Because we proved it, but why initially did we consider reading? Because the other Mishnah, the Mishnah, there's a Mishnah in Orla. Right, that's the reason. Okay. So the Mishnah says, "Achodosh also min haTorah b'chol mokum." Orla, what about Orla? Halacha. So seemingly, what does the word halacha mean? Halacha should be Sinai. That Orla is applicable outside of Eretz Yisrael, is universal, that's halacha should be Sinai. That's halacha. Kilayim midivrei sofrim. The law that if you plant grain near a vineyard or other things near a vineyard, that's rabbinical. Also, it's mitzvah tluyis b'oretz. Rabbinically, they said you must observe the laws even in Chutz La'aretz, but it's not a Torah law. No, this Chutz La'aretz, Chutz La'aretz. We're talking about Chol Moko, right? My halacha. Now the question is, what does Orla halacha mean? Omer Rav Yehuda ben Shmuel, Hilchsa Medina. It's interesting. Meaning, they took it upon themselves. Hilchsa Medina. Rashi says, Hinigu heim aleim b'chutz la'aretz. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, Divrei Sofrim also means rabbinical, right? Divrei Sofrim. So according to Rabbi Yehuda ben Shmuel, Hilchsa means rabbinical. So if that's good, why don't we use the same terminology? Say, Orla v'kalayim divrei sofrim. Why, regarding Orla, does the Tana use the term halacha? And it means, hinigu, they took it upon themselves, which we'll see also means rabbinical. And kalayim, it's divrei sofrim. Means rabbinical. Okay, it's a little difficult. It's difficult. Ula Rabbi Yochanan. Ula says no. What does halacha mean? Which normally when the Gemara says halacha, halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It's not rooted in the text, but that it applies really. It's mitzvah atluyis boretz. So why do we extend it beyond Eretz Yisrael? Arla, that the first 3 yields of a fruit tree are forbidden to eat and not even permitted to benefit from. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. We rule. We rule like Rabbi Yochanan's interpretation that it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It's doraisa. Even in Chutz La'aretz, not only in Eretz Yisrael, everybody, all in Eretz Yisrael, nobody disagrees. That's Doraisa. Whether it's universal, that's the argument. Rabbi Yochanan says, Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It's a Doraisa. No, Kalayim, everybody agrees it's Divrei Sofrim. Chutz La'aretz Divrei Sofrim. Arla, he's arguing. I mean, his father learned it from a Kal V'chomer. He learned it, that's the argument. Reb Loz's arguing with his father. No. His father made a Kal V'chom from Chodosh. Chodosh is Apkul Chutz La'aretz, right? So he says, Arla definitely should be Apkul Chutz La'aretz. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow.